Ah, perfect. Should be just perfect. Welcome to my nightmare. As you guys may be able to see, maybe not, here's my 1863 Remington Pocket Pistol. I have decided to replace all of the internals with the exception of the mainspring, just simply because here's the old trigger, and I don't know if you guys can see, but the top of it has rolled forward, which changed the angle of how far back the hammer sets coming forward. It is what it is. So I went ahead and bought all new internals. I got a new hammer, got a new cylinder stop, and that's what I'm fitting now, making sure that she's good and tight and she drops right into where she's supposed to as a stop. I've had to re-drill all the holes to fit the screw. Yeah, I get everything in this little thing right here to fit the screw. And fortunately I have a diamond tip drill that I could actually, well, not drill, but you know, one of those little Dremel things. So I've had to do that. I've had to drill this, had to resize the hole that the screw goes in. So I've got everything fit right now. Now I have to time it, and that's going to take me a little bit of time to do. But I want to talk or mention a little bit about a mishap. When I was shooting that gun a week ago from the actual recording of this, the first few shots went off just fine, and I was up close, maybe about 10 feet or so, and I wanted to kind of see up close where it was hitting on the target, and all of them hit the bullseye. A little off to the left, but they still hit the bullseye. So then I reloaded it, backed up another 5 or 6 feet, and I wanted to see how much higher it was going to shoot at the 5 or 6 feet. Now, I had my safety glasses on just so that anybody hearing the rest of this will understand something. And I shot the first shot. It went a little high, so I aimed progressively a little bit lower, and I'm not sure what happened, but for some reason when I was aiming down, my glasses were not tight up against my face like they are right now. And I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but if you can look right there, that bullet bounced back and it hit that top of my glasses and got me right in the eye. I'm okay. I can see clearly. It's been red. It kind of got me more in the corner of the eye, but it did hit the white, and it's, you know, you can see blood vessels that have been punctured or whatever, but I can see fine. Well, as fine as I can with this eye being the weaker eye anyways. But everything's fine. So just a word of precaution. Make sure when you guys are shooting and you're even pointing down or whatever, make sure your glasses are tight to your face. So, safety issue out of the way. And I do know from previous videos from time to time I forgot to put them on, but this time I know I had them on. And you can actually, once again, just for repetition, for emphasis, you can see that little ding right there. And that's how much effort that ball came back at me with even 7 grains of powder, because my friend had told me that when he loaded up the gun, let me see if I can find my It's buried somewhere in all this mess. You wonder how I can get any, oh, it's over here. Wonder how I can get anything accomplished in the mess. My friend had told me that 2 of these is what he normally shoots in the cylinder, while 2 of these overflows the cylinder, and this is 7 grains, so 2 of those would be 14, and I couldn't get a round ball in it. So I have since soldered on a 22 shell to give me a full 10 grains out of this, and 10 grains will fit this cylinder just nicely. So, and that was with 7 grains of powder. Yeah, and that was GoX. So even with that being stated, make sure that your glasses are firm to your face if you choose to wear them. Alright, okay, I have to re-record this portion of the video just simply because you couldn't read the number too well in my digital scale this morning when I did this test. But just so that you all know, I did get everything timed. I haven't shot it yet, but timing is spot on. Okay, so let me progress here. I now have some Swiss so that I can do my own comparison. I haven't shot any yet, but you've seen in a previous video I did a burn test compared to the gunpowder that I did with the Aspen, and burned pretty clean. But one of the reasons why I kind of want to do this, because a few days ago I watched a video on the YouTube channel Cap and Ball Fanatic, Jay Stone I think is his name. He did a side-by-side comparison of 3F Shoots-In and 3F Swiss. And as most of us already have come to learn, Swiss burns cleaner and it's more powerful. Why is that? What's the reasoning for that? So I'll just give you the quick synopsis of what Jay Stone did on the channel Cap and Ball Fanatic. He had 30 grains of Shoots-In, and he compared it to 30 grains of Swiss in one of his Cap and Ball revolvers. At the end of it all, Shoots-In had an average of 724 feet per second with a velocity, and Swiss had an average velocity of 890.5 feet per second. So there's no argument as to whether Swiss is more powerful or not. It just is. But I want to know why. So what I'm doing is I am weighing the 3 gunpowders to see how they compare in weight to GoX. So let me continue on here. Okay, there's 70 grains of 3F GoX, and I'm going to double check that in my RCBS scale, and she's set right at 70, if you can see the number, and she's a hair above level. I don't completely trust digital scales as compared to a balance scale, but that's what we have. Okay, this is the Swiss, and on my digital scale you can see it weighs 74 grains, and just so that you can see for sure, there's my powder measurer, and she's set right at 70 grains. But that's what it weighs. It's definitely heavier. Now let's do the same thing on my balance scale and see what it weighs. Don't know how well you guys can see this, but she's right at, there's your 70 grain mark. Let's see if I can bring this in a little bit better for you. Okay, and then there's a little dial. I don't know if you guys can see it well enough, but that's right at 74.4 actually. Okay, let's try the Shoots-In. So there's the Shoots-In, and she weighs 71. Not much difference between that and GoX, but let me put it on my RCBS scale and see if they can match. So scale's balanced, and I'm actually at 71.1. Not gonna say too much about the 0.1, but it does indicate to me that my digital scale is pretty accurate. Now I want to show you guys something that I read off of the internet regarding these two gunpowders, Schutzen and Swiss. So wanting to figure out why Swiss is a better gunpowder than all the other gunpowders on the market, and yeah, Swiss does have some bragging rights. There's no question about that at all. So I went to the Schutzen website because Schutzen owns Swiss, and I kind of wanted to get a feel for their way of making this Swiss gunpowder and why perhaps it's better than anything else on the market as far as black powder is concerned. Well, I found what was intriguing in the second paragraph. Okay, now we all have to recognize they do use buckthorn alder, and buckthorn alder with a 12% moisture content, I just recently found that out, has a specific gravity of 0.50, whereas the European alder has a 0.43. Now, the information that I downloaded shows that they use buckthorn alder, so that would have a specific gravity of 0.50 with a 12% moisture content. Okay, but I found this intriguing. It reads, the black powder is made entirely with alder buckthorn charcoal with a heavy graphite glazing. Heavy graphite glazing. So let me turn the camera and you can see what I'm talking about here. So I don't know how well the camera can pick this up, but I can see the heavy graphite glazing. What you're looking at right now is the Swiss. I'm going to pan to my left, and this is Goex. I'm going to pan all the way to the right, and that's the Schutzen. I think if you guys can see this clearly, I think you can understand when they say that Swiss gunpowder is heavily graphite glazed. You can see it, even as it's compared to the Schutzen. And I can tell you, just looking at it with my eyeballs, that the Schutzen is not as heavily glazed as the Swiss is. And you can also see that the Schutzen is more glazed than what the Goex is. So before I get to what I discovered about graphite glazing of the gunpowder, I do want to show you what I discovered when doing a little further research with Schutzen. Schutzen actually blends 3 charcoals in the process of their making their gunpowder. One of them is the alder, the other one is hazelnut, and the other charcoal is maple. And the hazelnut has a specific gravity of 0.52, and we already know that the buckthorn alder has a specific gravity of 0.50, and the maple, the silver leaf maple, has a 0.51. So they're using 2 heavier, not by much, 2 heavier charcoals in a blend. Now here's the thing. When you look at the buckthorn alder, and the reason why Swiss uses it is because it has a very consistent burning rate. Whereas the blending of the 3 gunpowder, the 3 charcoals, produces a less consistent burning rate. Let that sink in for a moment. Okay, now what I found interesting about the phrase heavy graphite glazing was this. When you do the Google search and you scroll down to the bottom of the first page, there's usually a box or somewhere within that Google search page that has a series of questions. And one of the questions was, is black powder graphite? And we all know, graphited, I guess I should say. We all know that it is. And there's a reason for that we've all come to appreciate, is that it helps, inhibits the moisture from getting into your gunpowder. Okay? Now, the one thing that I found, I've got a bunch of notes here. The one thing that I found interesting about this is that the graphite also is a explosive. Let me read to you what I copied off that page, that Google question. The question once again, is graphite used in gunpowder? Graphite is non-flammable in bulk form, but it is combustible. It's a reducing agent, okay? It reduces the amount of moisture that gets into the gunpowder, for one thing. Now, this is what it further read. Mixtures of graphite dust and air are explosive when ignited. Reacts violently with very strong oxidizing agents such as fluorine, chlorine dioxide, and potassium peroxide. And it also adds that the graphite leaves no residue behind. It's funny that when I tested the Swiss on the board, there was a filmy residue left behind as opposed to my Aspen. But hey, what do I know? So, why is Swiss more powerful? Could it be because of the heavy graphite glazing? And graphite dust, when it's mixed with air, is an explosive when ignited, especially when it has a source of oxygen such as potassium nitrate. Think about it, friends. Why is this better? Is it really because it's a more superior product, or is it really because of what they do to enrich the explosive power of this in conjunction with, as I showed on my RCBS scale and my digital scale, per volume of 70 grains is actually 4.4 grains or 4 grains more in weight. So you're actually burning more gunpowder per volume because of the density. Okay, because of its density. Whereas Schutzen, I can't imagine Schutzen owning Swiss and using a different tonnage jack to compress the Schutzen black powder 3F as opposed to the Swiss. I don't know, but I can't imagine that being the same company. But the difference is, and I showed it, Schutzen uses a blend of 3 charcoals, and they don't graphite it as heavily as does Swiss. Now I have to ask a question with this thought in mind. Is buckthorn alder really a, what was the wording it used? A very even burn rate? Or is it because they've added more graphite in the glazing, which makes the buckthorn alder burn better? Inquiring minds want to know. But is it going to change anything I do when it comes to my homemade gunpowder? Absolutely not. Because I've already figured out a long time ago, you want to have a powerful homemade gunpowder. Well, there again, get yourself a 20-ton jack, 30-ton jack, 50. Get yourself a 1,000-ton jack, and you're going to probably come up with compacted gunpowder as tightly compressed as what Swiss is. But for me, I just simply add another 10 grains or so to my charge to get better velocities. So anyhow, I hope this helps somebody think a little bit more about these gunpowders instead of somebody just saying, well, Swiss is the best, it's the cleanest, it's more powerful. But why? Why? There again, even though I showed there is a graphite glazing on GoX, It's not heavy. Even though there's a graphite glazing on Schutzen, it's not as heavily glazed as Swiss. So understanding that graphite isn't explosive when it comes to the dust particles with an oxygenator, you might be able to understand why Swiss is a better gunpowder. So friends, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll get out here real soon and see how this thing does. I'll make sure I got my safety glasses on and they're tight to my face. Thanks for watching, and if you found this information useful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your bestest of buds. Bye.